want to first thank Beth and Larry Smith, Larry Langston, Dennis Corbin, and Charlie Durden. Thank you for your support, for putting this wonderful group together. I remember the very first time that I saw YANA online, I thought, what an amazing group. A group that has been established for Americans to be able to come together that are sharing concerns that our nation is faced with today and to find commonality among each other. And so again, thank you again for putting this great organization together. So I'm an American patriot with conservative values who is running as a Republican in the 14th District. The reason I am running is because I refuse to stand idly by while the foundations of this nation are being destroyed. I am running for office because shaking my fist at the television for the last 4 years has accomplished absolutely nothing. And I have grave concerns for the future of our children and our grandchildren, who are absolutely the future of this nation. Why am I running in District 14? I am happy to share with you that my husband services District 14 in DeKalb, LaSalle, I'm sorry, not LaSalle, DeKalb and Sycamore and Hinckley areas as a garbage man. He actually meets a lot of the neighbors out there as he's out on his route, and I get to hear wonderful stories of conversations that he has with the people within that area. We have deep ties to District 14, and I would share that before the state of Illinois saw fit to redistrict the entirety of this state, we actually live within the boundaries of 14. Once they redistrict, we found ourselves outside the lines of 14. And so I am a person of faith, I am a person of prayer, and I do believe in being led by the Spirit. I immediately took to prayer and I said, Lord, are you still calling me to run in District 14? If you're calling me to run in another district, I just pray that you close every door that's not from you and only open the door that I'm supposed to walk through. And the doors were wide open in District 14. So the Lord saw fit to have me run as your next congresswoman within this district, and I'm proud to do so. What are some words that I would use to describe myself as an individual? I love God and I love people. I am an advocate. I am a justice warrior. I am a fighter for truth, and I have a heart that has been shaped with compassion and empathy because of the things that I have walked through in my life. I will share a story detailing how multifaceted I am as an individual because I feel that it's important that people know who they are electing to represent them within the district that they are called to serve. We don't see this typically in politicians. Typically we see politicians that will wear a mask and act like they've got it all together, and then often end up finding out that there's like skeletons in the closet, right? And so I really felt that it was important. When I decided to accept the call to run for Congress, I really had to count the cost. And what I mean by that is I really felt that it was important that I share with you some of the things that I've grown up in, some of the challenges that I've overcome, and why it is that I feel that I'm the best suited candidate to be able to represent the people of District 14. Everywhere from Joliet all the way out to LaSalle and even the most rural areas within this district. The reason why it's important to understand the key of who's representing you within the district is because the demographics within this particular district are so vast. So, Jamie Milton, who is she? She was born to two 18-year-old children, actually. And I was raised by different family members. I suffered abuse at the age of 5 years old, which led to some sexuality and gender confusion issues that so much of our youth is faced with today. I was able to have an abortion at the age of 15 years old without the knowledge of my parents, which I will tell you led to deep depression, deep trauma that has taken a lifetime to overcome. Our children should have no ability to walk into a medical facility and walk through a procedure that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And I am here today to stand as an advocate who is pro-life, absolutely. I grew up in the inner city of Chicago and the surrounding suburbs, all within Cook County. I have suffered inner city gang violence. I understand the violence that will be coming out to these communities if we continue to be led under democratic rule. To Beth's point about the kitty litter in the school districts, you would imagine that's something taking place in Chicago, but it has absolutely come to our front doors, and we have to take a stand and say enough is enough.
Right, we have to.
I was legally emancipated by my parents at the age of 16 years old. And the reason this had to happen is because I needed to enroll myself into high school. And the only way that that could happen is if the courts recognized that I was responsible for myself. So I will tell you the positive side of this is that it has created extraordinarily strong work ethic within me, and I have learned to fight and to overcome as a result. I had my daughter at the age of 19. I became a single mother by the time I was 24. And I had some hard employment choices that I needed to make in order to support myself and my child. Depression from deep wounds led me to decisions that would hold me in bondage for many years. I will tell you that I radically encountered the Lord in a very tangible and a very powerful way that completely changed my life up until the time that I stand here before you today. I was 32 years old when this took place. He miraculously delivered me from every weight that held me down in my life. I will tell you of God's goodness. I am an example of the saving power of Jesus Christ. The Lord absolutely picked me up, He turned me around, and He placed my feet on solid ground, and I am so thankful. By the time I was 20 years old, I had my very first leadership role as an operations manager where I was responsible for managing millions of dollars of inventory. I climbed the corporate ladder, becoming an operations manager, held several positions as a sales manager, local levels, national levels, and then eventually director level. My last position held was vice president of a manufacturing facility where I led 3 locations nationwide, dealing with everything from imports to exports, labor challenges, and did everything under the sun that was absolutely necessary in order for that business to survive. I have experience in finance, marketing, sales, and operations, and I am now running for U.S. Congress. What a miraculous story. To come from the inner city, be faced with all these challenges, be successful in the corporate world, and then having the opportunity to run for Congress. It's amazing, and I give God all the glory. I have a unique perspective on what it means to struggle and what it means to succeed. I have felt the weight of hardship and I have overcome. This has produced character, endurance, and strength. I am the strongest candidate who can represent this district and its demographics from cities like Joliet out to LaSalle and even to the furthest most reaching areas in our rural communities. I've supported farmers through our agricultural products that were created to support our farmers, and I've walked through the challenges of the inner city. I am the absolute strongest candidate to defeat Underwood and dismantle leftist ideology based upon my personal experiences. It's hard to lie to someone who's walked through it, knows the truth of it, knows the bondage of it, and knows what it takes to overcome these challenges. Why am I willing to lay down my reputation in sharing all of this with you here today? It's because the cost is too great not to. The bright future of generations to come are absolutely at stake, and it is my belief that this is absolutely the most important primary in U.S. history with what our nation is faced with today. My husband and I, we are a middle-class family. We are both blue-collar as well as white-collar. We believe in preserving and protecting the American dream. What is the American dream? The American dream is freedom, equality, and opportunity to all people. As I reflected on some years growing up in the 70s and 80s, some of you will appreciate this, I remember riding my bicycle, taking in the smells of barbecue coming from the backyards of hardworking Americans, and I remember being able to notice where all my friends were based on the pile of bicycles that were sitting in some front yards. I have memories of ice cream trucks with music emanating out of its speakers while children ran to the curbside contemplating their best choice for a sugary treat. When the streetlights came on, we knew it was time to come home. In summary, we felt safe to be outside. contrasted with today, where we are not safe for our children to play outside. We are not safe to give our children the permission to come home when the lights get turned on. With sex trafficking on the rise, fear of abduction, cyber violence leading to youth suicide, and leftist ideology indoctrinating the minds of our youth. There's gender confusion being propagated in our schools. I was actually kicked off Facebook for saying a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl. If you can imagine that. That was against their policy, apparently. Fatherlessness is being increased in our society through broken homes. And I'm sure many of you are aware that the welfare programs that exist today actually encourage fatherlessness. And I believe that that is by design. We need to rebuild our communities. We need to encourage our strong men to be strong men. We need to support and defend our women, and we need to protect our children. We must protect the nuclear family. We must open dialogue with our neighbors and find common ground and work from that place. We must de-weaponize the federal government, coming against its citizens. And we can do this by defunding the unconstitutional federal programs that exist today that is taking money out of our pocketbooks. There are more of us as American citizens than there are of them. And when I say them, I am referring to the globalists that seek to destroy the U.S. Constitution and make us part of a globalist organization, and I won't stand for it. When we unite, we have the ability to accomplish great things. One of the main things that caused me to want to run for Congress, outside of what I've already mentioned, is I really feel that there's an absolute attack on our Constitution. It's sad to say that we actually have to go to war to preserve the document that has afforded us our freedoms, but unfortunately this is the reality in which we live today. I absolutely support our First and Second Amendment rights. As a matter of fact, I love to go to the gun range with my husband. We really enjoy target practice and certainly look forward to preserving those rights. We must protect medical autonomy. The day the government tells you what to inject in your body without any fear of consequence to its manufacturers is absolute insanity. We must protect our citizens from unconstitutional lockdowns and mandates that are responsible for destroying this great nation. In terms of election integrity, I've done a little bit of research on our digital voting systems, and what I've realized is that they are connected to the internet, which makes us very vulnerable to attack from foreign and domestic terrorists, or not terrorists, but foreign and domestic attack. There is a solution. We can actually have these systems put on a closed air gap and have that information stored on a server where it can't be tampered with. We absolutely must look at the mail-in ballot issues. There is absolutely no traceability or accountability when it comes to mail-in ballots. Voter ID is absolutely required, and it is absolutely not racist, which is what is the message that they are trying to communicate today. Absolute absurdity. Can anybody in here get on an airplane or go to a doctor visit without showing an ID? And yet, the craziness that they are suggesting that we allow people to vote without ID is beyond me. We must continue to encourage our communities to serve at polls as election judges, clerks, and poll workers to ensure people are in place to report potential fraud. I really have a vision of working with our neighbors to really begin to educate on not only what it means to be protected by the Constitution, but the responsibility that each one of us hold in being responsible citizens over the election process. We can't allow our elections to be stolen in the future. With regard to border security, border control is necessary to ensure the sovereignty, safety, and security of our nation. And countries like Spain, Norway, Greece, and Israel have border walls, and it has certainly protected those nations. We have 20 million people who are living here illegally right now, with 2.5 million entering each year, and those numbers will continue to climb with the dissolution of Title 42. We must process southern border paperwork in Mexico instead of on the U.S. side. We must complete the wall, and we must e-verify. With regard to our education, there is absolutely no constitutional basis for the existence of the Federal Department of Education. One of my goals that I have within the first 100 days of office is passing legislation to dismantle the Federal Department of Education. Return those dollars back to the state. We must get curriculum back to common sense education like math and English, economics and financial literacy. And certainly I support things like workshop and mechanics and building up our blue collar workers with a trade. A strong economy ensures a strong nation. I'm really encouraged to see that there are already identified opportunity zones within LaSalle County. And I am absolutely interested in supporting those efforts to ensure that we have more opportunity for jobs within this county. It is absolutely my goal also within the first 100 days of office to review existing federal programs which are not supported within the scope of the Constitution and returning those tax dollars back to the American worker and, where applicable, back to the state. The federal government absolutely has way too much power. We must support America First policies and oppose America Last policies. Guys, we have to protect life. We are image bearers of our Creator. Every person that is sitting in this room today, even if you look at your neighbor, every person has been uniquely created and designed with a purpose and a destiny that our God had in mind for each person. And it is absolutely devastating that there are 63 million image bearers of God whose lives were destroyed. And I will absolutely not stand for it. I certainly want to pass legislation where children are not allowed to seek an abortion. Such was the case with me. And I will absolutely fight with every fiber of my being against that being allowed to happen. We must provide support services to women who have suffered through the trauma of abortion. We must advocate for programs to support struggling mothers and fathers during and after pregnancy in order to bring precious life into this earth. We must provide support services to men who are suffering from the loss of their child's life. You know, it's not too often that we talk about the men as it relates to abortion, but how often are the men not even invited in on that decision? It's devastating. We must reform the adoption system, making it affordable for loving families to adopt the 670,000 children in America's foster care system. Our first responders absolutely require our support. Our veterans need protected with their benefits, and we actually need to enhance the benefits of our veterans. You know, it absolutely appalls me for the people who have laid down their lives for this nation and how poorly they are treated. Energy independence is a matter of national security and safety. America First policies must be supported. We must open the Keystone Pipeline, oppose the Green New Deal, which puts China first and America last. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but through the Green New Deal, all of the components that are required in order to support that deal, 95% of those components come from China. How do you feel about putting your prosperity in the hands of China, a country who is absolutely opposed to America and its values? It's absolute lunacy. Regarding our health care, healthy people create healthy economies. I would like to see Frankenstein food go away. All these chemicals and dyes and things that are affecting our children's brains and our bodies. Do you know that, I want to say 10, 15 years ago, they started pumping chemicals into the meat to make it appear more red. Why? We're taking all of this in and it's affecting our health. We must return to privatized healthcare, holistic healthcare offerings through insurance. We need to give our people a choice when it comes to healthcare. We must repeal Obamacare and protect those with pre-existing conditions. Regarding transportation, I would like to see improvements to our transportation system. As I've been visiting certain areas within the counties, what I've noticed is that we will have railroad trains going through with supplies, but there are areas that are lacking commuter trains to get people to larger cities to be able to find employment. And I would like to begin doing research on what it will take to establish those commuter stations. Regarding foreign policy, Congress is responsible to legislate America First programs and policies, which includes fair and free trade. We must begin manufacturing again in the US of A and evaluate a cost-benefit analysis for globalist organizations such as NATO, UN, and the WHO. There is simply no reason to be affiliated with organizations such as this that wish and desire to destroy this nation. Why am I the best candidate to represent the people of LaSalle County and the demographic of cities like Joliet? I have survived the inner city. I've lived in the suburbs. I've supported our farmers. I really have a vast area of experience when it comes to these different areas and what our constituents are dealing with. I have struggled and I have learned to succeed. My corporate experience has given me the ability to produce economic prosperity. I have a deep appreciation for blue-collar workers such as my hardworking husband. I understand deeply and personally the challenges the next generation is faced with and intimately understand the solutions for them to live prosperous and happy lives. I will quote Patrick Henry, who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." And I really feel that it has come to that. If we do not have good Americans stepping up to the plate to fight, to preserve, and protect this nation, I really feel we're at the precipice of things turning really dark or being able just in the nick of time to turn things moving in the right direction. I want to mention as well that the war that we are in right now is spiritual in nature. It requires sending a candidate to Washington who understands how to operate in a spiritual war. This is not Democrat versus Republican. This is good versus evil. I am not backed by corporate donors. I am backed by the American people, which means I am indebted to the American people and not to corporations. That says a lot, guys. When you get into office, you can't be held and bound to corporate desires. We have to get back to supporting the people, which is why this nation was founded the way that it was. If you feel led to donate to my campaign, I would be honored to receive your support at jamiemilton.com. That is spelled J-A-I, and this is Mary E, Milton.com. And again, my name is Jamie Milton. I am your next Congresswoman fighting for you.
Thanks, Jamie. So give her another round of applause.